Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. For those who may not know me, my name is Austin Washburn, better known as Austin Evo X. And today, we're gonna be taking the Evo out. We're gonna meet up with some of my friends from the Inversion Crew and we're gonna get some pictures. So I'm gonna be using my Sony a7 III and the Sigma 85mm f1.4 lens. Once we get to the location, I actually have an action camera that I'm gonna put on my hat. I'm gonna take you all along with how I take photos, position the cars, and I'll be ending the video with my editing process. So I hope you get to learn something new today. I'm gonna go ahead, get this Evo started up. I'll see you all at the location. All right, we're gonna get started with directing our good friend Ben. This beautiful Evo 10. There are a lot of little bugs around here. Yeah. Go back. That should be good. And we got our friend Anthony with his 350Z. I can't remember the name of the color, but it's an orange that was, it's like an OEM GTR color from one of the old ones, and it's beautiful. I love the way that it looks. But we're just getting the cars positioned here because I want to have the sun side available on the cars, especially for Ben's car, because this beautiful brown that he has on it. It's so gorgeous. It looks so good. But there's definitely, you know, if you take a picture on the right side of the car where there's a lot of shadow on it, I mean, it's okay, it doesn't look bad, but if a car has a lot of flake and pearl to it, you definitely want to be able to capture that. So we're gonna set it up this way. I really wish this fence wasn't here though, because then I'd be able to go on the other side and be able to take pictures a little bit easier. But all right, so we got the car set up, and fortunately, it's not how I imagined it would be. As I said, kind of doing Google Maps, you never know really what it's going to look like depending on how long ago it was taken. So unfortunately, we got this big ass fence right here, and it kind of sucks. But say hello, my little brother. This is Cooper. But here in this shot, as you can see, I got all three cars kind of lined up here in it. So I am using a Sigma 85mm f1.4. It's from their art lens. And to get everything in focus, I kind of have it at a really, I want to say high number aperture rating, which is at f10, because if you do like less, for example, wrong button, if I went down to like an f5.6, I mean, I have to adjust my settings, but not everything would actually be in focus. So you want to bring it back up to at least f10, f11, somewhere in that range, and to make sure everything is in focus. So this is going to make your cars, the road, the background, everything's going to be in focus. It's not going to be blurred out. When you're shooting multiple cars, you really want to make sure that you have everything in focus, because it looks really weird when one is out of focus. So I'm going to go ahead and let's take some shots here. So I'm going to set my focus to the closest object to me, which is going to be Ben's headlight. I want to follow the rule of thirds and put this down on this lower grid right here. My exposure is still a little high. Oh, look at Anthony. Right in the shot. This could actually be sick though. So if you see, my multimeter is at like -1, -0. It's kind of going back up a little bit. You definitely don't want to be overexposed, so you don't want to be, I'm going to turn my ISO up. You don't want to be up in the +1, because then your highlights are going to be blown out and you really can't recover that when you're in Lightroom. So you want to be either at +0 or even in the negatives. Of course, you don't want to be too far negative like that, because it's literally dark. You can't see anything at all. So we're going to find our sweet spot, which for me, I like doing like -0.3, -0.7, somewhere in that range is typically what I like to shoot at. But it really depends on our current lighting conditions. We don't want it to be too dark, because even though we can bring back a lot of the shadows, a lot of the darkness in Lightroom, you can only do that so much until it's lost forever. So I'm gonna try and kind of mess with a few different exposure ratings and ISO settings just to see what's going to look best in post when I get into Lightroom. So I definitely take quite a bit of photos as I'm out and about because I want to make sure that I have the best photo, you know. So I kind of go through different settings, different ISO settings, different shutter speeds, etc., and kind of just tried a few different things. So it's not like I'm going out just taking one photo and then I'm like, okay, done. So I definitely take quite a few different settings to make sure it's all good when I get into post. So let's try doing a little different spot here. Let's get some close-ups of our 3 cars here. You know, honestly, for shooting multiple cars, I would highly recommend to use a wider millimeter lens, like a 24 millimeter, something of that sort, because you'd be able to get way closer and get all 3 cars in the frame together. But I just love this 85 millimeter from Sigma so much that I really don't want to use anything else until I get something on the same level. So kind of have to work with what I've got, but I'll at least be able to use this and kind of have some fun here with it. Oh, that sun is setting quickly. Oh, that's sick. It's a little too dark though. Let's bring that aperture down since we're closer. Bring the ISO. That's at -1, so I'll try a couple here. I'm gonna take a couple steps back. All right. Some of Anthony's car now. Maybe a step or two more back. Get that headlight in focus. Kind of go over. I don't know how it exactly looks on the GoPro. It might seem like it's really dark, but again, in Lightroom we'll be able to bring the shadows out and bring the exposure up without blowing out the highlights even more. So you really want to make sure that your multimeter is not going in the positives, because it's just going to ruin your whole picture. But again, it would be way better if I didn't have this humongous fence here, but it's alright. We're doing this just for fun. Thankfully no one's getting paid for this, or they would probably want their money back. Alright, let's get some detail shots. Oh man, that sunset right now looks wild. Definitely want to make sure I've got that on. Really want to blow this one out, blur this one out, I should say. Dropping it down to f2.8. It's still a little dark. Drop my ISO, drop my shutter speed. Oh, do you see? I don't know if the GoPro's capturing it, but the orange is starting to come out more on my camera, which is exactly what we want. Because if it looks good on your camera, it's gonna look good in post. Oh my goodness, it looks so good. Oh yeah, I don't know if you all can see that, but it looks so good. That is exactly it, because I'll be able to bring most of those exposure, most of the shadows, I mean, back out. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. So we'll drop it down to here. Do the same for Anthony. Actually, I'll drop the shutter speed. Let's move over to the Evo. Oh man, this freaking fence is going to blow my mind, man. Oh, that looks sick though. Brighten it up just a tad. So really it is just a game of balancing out your ISO, shutter speed, aperture for your final image and what you're trying to achieve. Alright, this might be fire with the factory lights too. It could be. It could be. Depending on the bokeh from it. But it's just so hard right here with, I just don't have enough room because of this freaking fence, man. If I could just like relocate it for a day, that would be great. Or if we could move the rocks that are over there, then bring the cars over, that'd be even better, but we can't really do that right now, unfortunately. Yeah, a truck with a huge rope on it, like a Hemi, and it with insane grip. Yeah, all that diesel power. But that might be all we can get from this spot. So thankfully we made it back safe and sound, and now it is time to edit some photos. So first photo that I want to dive into is this beautiful shot that I got of Ben's Evo here at sunset. And this is straight out of camera. I haven't done any edits at all for it, and this is one reason why I say it's really important to capture what vibe that you're thinking of with the situation that you're in and how you want to edit it. Because if you can capture it in photo off of your camera first, it's going to make your editing process even easier. So with sunsets, there are two different approaches, I guess to say, that I usually take. My first approach is typically, I'll just start with the lighting first. I'll increase like my shadows, blacks, whites, highlights, things of this nature here. And I'll also mess with, oh, where'd it go? I mess with the dehaze. Oh, there it is, I passed it. So I mess with the dehaze here as well. My second approach that I usually use for editing photos, especially at sunset, is the tone curve, which is where I'll start kind of bringing up highlights, shadows, and messing with the lighting here. I'll then go into like the colors here and kind of start adding different tone curve colors. There's not necessarily a wrong approach to it. It's just two ways that I like to do it. But I typically like to use the tone curve first if I feel like I want to start bringing color in, but since I was able to capture the color pretty well out of camera, I'm going to start with the lighting adjustments first. So with the lighting, let's go ahead and raise the dehaze first. Typically I like raising dehaze on sunsets first because, as you can see, I start dragging it, it starts bringing out that yellow that's coming out already, and it starts making the image just a little bit darker on its own. So I'm just going to keep going until I get it to where I like it. I'm going to go pretty intense here because, as you can see, as I'm bringing that dehaze more to the right, you can kind of start seeing the car get more detail, and it looks like it's almost high def already. So I'm going to keep going, I think right there, at least for now. I'll probably come back and adjust that further. Another thing that I like to do with sunsets is look at your temperature. So right now it's at 5500, which is a pretty neutral, like, white balance. So if I were to go more to the left, it's going to be bring more blues in, which I don't really like, especially for this. Maybe for night photography, blue comes in handy, as it makes the lighting at night look more white when you add more blue in. But for sunset, I'm going to crank this up and really start bringing the yellow out. And I can always go back into my colors and adjust it a little bit more. So I'm going to kind of go a little over the top here, like that. I think just a little bit more. So you don't want to go too far, because then it's completely yellow, which is a little too much. So you want to find a nice happy medium, which I think is going to be around this like 7,000 area. And again, I can always draw the yellows back once I'm done. So as you can see, the photo is still just a little dark. So one tip, do not go straight to exposure. Exposure will destroy your editing. Like, it's okay to add a little bit, and when I say a little bit, like +2. You can always decrease exposure. That's really not going to hinder your photo, but if you're trying to brighten your photo by adding exposure, it's just going to blow everything out of proportion, which, don't start there. Use exposure as a last resort. So since this photo is dark, it's essentially shadows. So let's start with shadows first. So I'm going to bump my shadows up. As you can see, it's not blowing the sky out. It's just making all the shadowed areas just a little bit lighter. So, like, this looks incredible already. Done. No, I'm just kidding. We still got more to go through. Let's go ahead and try pumping up our black as well. Typically, I don't like using black. It kind of depends, because sometimes black adds like a hazy fade to the photo. So if I do it too much, it starts brightening it like way too much. Like, this is way too exposed, at least for my liking. I don't like doing stuff super exposed like that. So honestly, I might just use a little bit. Even then, I don't know. I'm going to leave this alone for right now, actually. I think I might add some shadows, just a little bit more. All right. So this picture looks pretty dang good so far already. But let's see what we can do to make it better. So we're going to head over to our masking section, which is this little circle up here in the corner. And the first mask that I'm going to create is going to be using this linear gradient. And I'm going to go ahead and drag, start from the bottom, kind of bring it up about to there, I'm going to say. Now I'm going to go ahead and subtract my subject from it, which is going to be the car, because I don't want the car to be affected with what I'm going to do. As you can see, it kind of overlaid the car a little bit, which it's not necessarily what I want in the situation. I mean, AI can only do so much. Sometimes it's spot on, sometimes you gotta go and fix it. So I'm gonna go ahead and subtract and do a brush. I'm just gonna go ahead and start brushing away the top of his splitter, but I do definitely want the road to still be subtracted here. Okay, so I don't want to rename it. So mask 1. So what I am doing here is I'm going to go ahead to the texture section and I'm going to bump this up, and as you can see, as I bump it up, the road starts gaining a lot more detail in it. You start seeing all of like the little details that actually like make up gravel as they're laying roads, and it's just going to make your picture look even more sharp. And there's not, I mean, you don't want to do 100. That's like really, really, really sharp, but let's go ahead and make it to where it looks good. I think somewhere in this range. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I do want it to be, I think, a little more up. There we go. And now, the main reason also why we use masks is to bring attention to our subject. So what we can do is that since we want the subject to be the primary focus, is you want to decrease the lighting that you're putting your masks on. So we're definitely doing more of these. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and for this one, I am going to drop the exposure on it because it's not affecting the whole picture. It's just one area, and I do want it to get darker as quick as possible. So again, we're going to start really, really small. We really don't need a lot. And when I do this, it makes the road look black, like how a road should be. You know, most roads are pretty black, but I don't want to lose all my detail from it. So this negative 0.51, that looks pretty good. It actually looks really good compared to what it was at before, just a simple adjustment. Next, let's go ahead and create a new mask because I don't really need to do too much here. And we're going to go ahead and select our subject, and I'm going to bring some shadows back into our friend's Evo here, and it really doesn't need a lot. Because if you do it too much, it's going to start making it like really like highlighty, which we don't really want. So I'm just going to do it just a few notches there. It's very, very small. Next, I'm going to create another new mask, and we're going to do a radial gradient, and we're going to put it right over Ben's car, and I'm going to move it this way, kind of move it down, just like that, and then I'm going to move that in, bring it up, maybe to there. All right, and the main purpose why I'm creating this radiant little filter is so I can actually duplicate it and then invert it. That way everything outside of the circle except his car will be able to be adjusted. So let's go ahead and do that just really quick by control clicking, and you'll see this duplicate and invert mask. So as you can see, all this red area is like outside of Ben's car, which is affecting like all the environment else. So what I want to do here is start adjusting lighting just a little bit to bring it down, not much, but it will start bringing focus into Ben's car even further. So I'm going to start with highlights here first, just to see, it's kind of making it a little too dark, so I'm going to do it just a little, then let's try the shadows. There we go, just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay. Now let's go back. We'll do this mask, or sorry, the radial gradient that's over Ben's car. Let's bump up the shadows just a tiny bit. Great. Bringing a bunch of focus right onto that demon eye headlight that Ben has, which I'm honestly trying to make that the focal point because it just looks so good right now, especially in this lighting. So next, let's go ahead and create another linear gradient. This one, I'm going to drag it from our light source, which is the sun, which is pointing in this direction. And what I'm going to do is essentially create some artificial light to have it essentially shine like that it's coming from outside the frame and that it's truly there and moving that light frame across Ben's car. So I'm going to go ahead and go down. Typically, you could do this in two ways. You could do it by increasing exposure and then decreasing dehaze, which if you decrease dehaze, you're essentially inputting more haze and more light into the picture. So I again, the only time I really like to use exposure is on that linear gradient filter on the bottom. But for this, we're going to start with dehaze and slowly take it down. As you can see, it starts making this artificial light. It starts making this corner actually seem like an actual light source, not that it's just chilling. So again, we don't really need to add too much like that. So if we go too much, it doesn't match the rest of the photo. It makes it look like it's too light, and I don't really want that for this photo. So I'm gonna go down. Let me go back to 0. I think 20 was where I kind of saw it. Yeah, maybe a 15. In between. Lightroom is that if it has these AI features, it just makes everything so easy. So now that we have the sky selected, I'm kind of curious about try decreasing highlights. I really like how it is actually. Maybe the temp. I actually kind of like it decreased just a tiny bit. It's where you get some of the blue back that it's originating. We don't want to go too much. Maybe -5. Yeah, that way we still get some original blue from the sky there. I wonder, since we have a bit of clouds, if we added some clarity in to really make those clouds more visible. Actually, I do like that. I like how it's adding a little bit of a vignetting effect, without it actually vignetting on the corners. Just a little bit. All right. And then last mask that I want to create here is going to be with the linear gradient. We're going to come up from this corner and kind of mimic the one that we created up in the top left from the sun. And I'm going to decrease the exposure just a tiny bit because I want to start bringing again our focal point to that demon eye. But I don't want to take too much out from the rest of Ben's car. That looks pretty even all the way across. Okay, good. All right, keep it like that. So, lighting seems to be good. Coloring is almost there. We got a little bit of a bluish teal aqua in his windshield that we need to take care of. I feel like this could be purple, maybe, depending on. It seems like there's some color that we can extract from there and make it even better. We'll kind of see what happens. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna leave the tone curve alone for right now, but I want to start getting into grading this picture. So let's bring this out so we can actually see what's going on, and let's move our way around the wheel and see what is gonna look best. And we're in the pink, purple, blue. Kind of like how the blue makes it a little bit more neutral, but let's see. Yellow looks pretty good. All the orange really gives the road that, like, it's like yes, this is sunset. I think, let me drag this down just a tiny bit. I don't want it to be overpowering. That looks pretty good. Let me decrease this here. Oh, this is looking really, really, really good. Just a little, maybe too much. Let's go to the middle. That looks really good. Alright, so this is decreasing like the luminance of your shadows, which essentially is taking highlights out of the shadows. So in a way, you're just decreasing light from it. I think I want to go just a tiny bit more. There we go. I think I want to settle on orange. Let me see. Blue equals it out, but it adds way too much blue in. I don't like it. Nope. It just does not fit. Where is this orange? It looks so good. Okay, awesome. Let's go to midtones. Do the same thing, bring it out a little bit. And we'll go around our little color wheel here. Ooh, that purple's kind of bringing in what I was thinking up in the back, but it's a little too much. Blue makes things a little too blue. Don't want green. Let's go across this yellow, orange. Red is a little too much. I think I like the orange the most because yellow is a little too much. And we'll do this just a little lower. So we really don't need to use a lot when you're doing grading. You definitely do not want to go overboard with it, depending on the photo. Sometimes you can go overboard and it works out. Let's try decreasing this, increasing. No, definitely. I want to decrease it. Keep the darker end of this available. Okay, I like this. This looks good. Highlights. Let's go ahead and pull this out. I know I don't want to use green. I really want that. There's that purple starting to show in the back. Just a tiny, tiny bit. I think I actually like it up here. So we can't go too far, but if you start looking at the sky, you'll see it start getting a little purple pink haze in it. You just gotta go really, really, really slow with it. You do not want to go overboard. Let's try actually pulling this up. I want just a little fade of pink in there. Think like that. All right, this is turning out pretty good. So let's take a look at the blending, which is going to be the blending of all of our color grades that we did here. Let's go to the extreme end. That is way too much. Let's bring it back. I really like how it actually is making everything a little less intense here. Don't like 0. I think this 30s area looks the best. Yeah, we'll leave it here. Now, let's take a look at sharpening. So one thing to keep in mind when you come to this detail section is when you're at this masking 0, essentially what it's doing is it's trying to sharpen the whole picture, which we don't necessarily want to do. We really want to bring, again, the attention to our subject, which is the car. So I'm going to hold, for Mac, the option button and click it. So as you can see, it goes completely white. And then if you start going, you get to start defining where you actually want to sharpen. So I do like the idea of actually having some of the clouds sharpened in there to give them some detail as well, but we don't want too much of it. Like, I don't want necessarily all that grass in there. So we'll go just a little bit more. That should work. So maybe kind of hard to tell, at least from like the screen recording, but it sharpened everything that was highlighted there. So it kind of even fades out even more like the background and really brings focus into our subject right here. And let's take a look at their tone curve. So I want to do the tone curve last because I've already done so many adjustments in here, and I really do believe that keeping things simple is better, and we've already done quite a bit. But I am curious what will happen if we kind of start adjusting stuff here. I don't really want it brighter, but I do want highlights just a little bit more. Like that. Let's take a look at this top curve. Ooh, I really like how it actually brightens it up just a little bit. Let's go like right there. I don't want to do too much. I'll put one in the middle here. I really like how this looks. All right, let's go to the color tone curves. So we're gonna start off with this reddish section. I really don't think I'm gonna use this a lot because it's gonna be so much. I don't want green. I really don't want red. Let's go to the highlight section up here on the top right. Oh no, that's too much. Nope. I think I got the colors pretty spot on, actually. I really don't think I need to add anything, but never hurts to check. Green and purple. Let's try the purple side. It actually kind of helps get rid of like this little green hue that's there. It's not a lot. That's like too much though. I'll have to play around with it a little bit more. Let's try the highlight section. Yeah, I really think I got the colors good. Let's try the yellows. I do kind of like how it's a little more yellow, but it's a little too much though. I'll do it just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Even then, I don't know if I need to do that. Nope, I don't like it. We're sitting in the back. All right, so colors are done. DAs is in, shadows are in. Didn't have to touch exposure or highlights or anything. Actually, I do usually take out highlights in this, but that doesn't look good. That is way too much. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Let me take a look at these colors just a little bit more. Let's see if we can get some of this green out. Seems to be good. We might have some aqua in the windshield. Yep, we do. If you see, if you go all the way up, it brings out that aqua, and I like that green. Let's take some of the blue out. Just a little bit, so it still has some color. All right, so now we need to crop this for Instagram. So whenever you're shooting vertically, what you want to do is come into your crop and select this 4:5 option. I know Instagram used to do 1:1, but ever since smartphones started getting a little bit bigger, vertically, it allows for this larger aspect ratio of 4:5. So I highly recommend to use it. And then as far as positioning our picture here, I definitely want to make sure we have some of the bottom and of course like all of our beautiful background that we have. So I don't want to go all the way down. I think I want this corner to be kind of lined up with the mirror here. Maybe a little, let's see. That looks good. I like that. I like that a lot. This looks good. I do feel like Ben's car could have just a little bit more shadows coming out. So I'm gonna go to his car. Let's try this car first. Oh yeah, just a tiny bit. There we go. Sweet. Last thing I want to do is put this in through some denoise. So even if your photo doesn't have like a ton of noise in it, I've noticed that this feature just helps improve the sharpness of your photo without even doing much. So this is the enhanced version. You don't need to change this, but if you click and hold, do you see how it's kind of blurry for his headlight here? And then if you do it, it's like sharper. It's way less blurry by doing that, and it's going to do this to the whole picture. So I highly recommend here to do that. I'm going to uncheck this create stack, so I want to see the two differences of the photo, and I'm going to click enhance. While that is creating, you can see it up here on the top left corner. And as this is happening, let me just take a quick look at other settings to see if I by chance missed something. But so we got this looks so good. So yeah, show overlay. So we've got down here where we brought the detail in. We've got Ben's car, we've got the mask surrounding Ben's car, one not surrounding Ben's car, but everything else. We brought our light in, we've got the sky, and we've got this right corner to kind of decrease light just a little bit to help bring focus into the middle of our photo. Overall, I'm super happy about this. It's funny because usually when I edit photos, I typically will go back and either scrap like the full project that I just worked on, or I'll kind of go in and make other little tweaks. But really looking at this, I don't know what else I would do. This is actually pretty good. I really like this a lot. I hope Ben likes it too. But I am gonna go in and edit some more photos.
As you can see, I really don't use any presets. I mean, presets are definitely not the end of the world, and they really help you with your photography journey, but I highly suggest not relying on them, as I feel like it takes away from that creative expression that you yourself have, and it allows you to build something like this from the ground up. And, you know, everyone has different styles and tastes, so I just hope that watching this video has taught you something, and I really hope that you can apply what you've learned today to your own photos. And thank you so much for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.